Yeah, and I think that in the games that we've played so far, we haven't had a easy game in any of them. So we know that League One is tough. Regardless of what other fans think about us, that they feel that we as fans believe that we'll roll over the league. We've never. The vast majority of Blues fans are realistic to know that this is a tough league and we're going to have to fight for every single point. So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And I think it's fair to say that Birmingham City have made a really good start to the League One campaign. At the time of recording, we've played 4 games, won 3 and drawn 1. So good points return. And in this video, we're going to look at our next 5 fixtures because it's quite significant in the teams that we're playing. The next 5 fixtures are against teams that have all been fancied to do quite well this season. So we thought we'd have a quick chat really on the significance of what we think about these 5 fixtures and what it actually could mean for our season. So I don't know if you want to run through the 5 fixtures first, Matt, just so everybody knows what fixtures we're talking about.
Yeah, happy to do that. I think it's worth reminding ourselves of those fixtures. And I've also got their league position in here as well, and whether we're playing home or away. So our next game is against Wrexham. That's at home at St.Andrews. And Wrexham have actually today, with their win, have gone top of the league. But of course, they've played 1 extra game to the majority of League One teams. But still a great start for Wrexham, no doubt about that. We're then playing Rotherham away, and they're currently sitting in 15th. They have just drew at Charlton, and they also beat Huddersfield the week before. So you could argue now they're finding their feet in the league again. Yeah. Then we've got Peterborough away. Peterborough at home, and they're on 11th. And then we have Huddersfield, who are 7th. That's also at home. And then we have Charlton, who are 5th, and that's going to be away as well. So there's no doubt about it in terms of League One. This is going to be a tough run of games for us. But, Dad, again, unobjectively, I think these are all winnable. There's one game in particular. Come back to me towards the end of the podcast and ask me what my one game is, which I'm a little bit anxious about. But
so I'm laughing. That's one of my questions. I've got a few questions for you. and obviously, again, we really do not talk to each other in terms of we will pick a topic and do some general individual research and thoughts, but we don't actually talk about what each of us are going to say because obviously we don't want our responses to be scripted. So it's really strange that I actually got that down as a question that I'm going to ask you anyway.
We'll come back around to that in a little bit. But, Blues have had a strong start to the season. We are a team still gelling. We are a team still adapting. We've had 17 incomings this season, but we've got to be encouraged with what we've seen, haven't we? I think, for me, I just want to see more chances created from the crazy levels of possession we're having. We're having lots of the ball. I just want to see more going at teams, creating more chances from open play. And there hasn't been a better time for Chris Davies to put some training in. We've had the international break. We're going to have nearly 2 weeks off of football before the Wrexham game. And I want to pick up a point, Dad. You mentioned this in a podcast. I think it was last week. And you said you think that we'll do better against the arguably bigger teams in the league because they'll come at us more, which then might make them a little bit more vulnerable and open up pockets then when we do move into the final third. So, we have seen, haven't we, had a few teams with that park the bus mentality or getting a goal and then sitting back, whereas these teams I don't think will do that as much, and that might play into our favour, mightn't it? Yeah,
and I think that we, in the games that we've played so far, we haven't had a easy game in any of them. So we know that League One is tough. Regardless of what other fans think about us, that they feel that we as fans believe that we'll roll over the league. We've never. The vast majority of Blues fans are realistic to know that this is a tough league and we're going to have to fight for every single point. And we've seen that, haven't we? Because we've won all of our games just by one goal in all of our wins, apart from the first game, which was a draw against Reading. But these teams, because they're all fancied, it's worth considering the impact of playing the teams that are fancied, because how will that change in terms of the mentality of Chris Davies and the squad, and also what it will mean as well. Now, clearly, at the time of recording, we've played 4 games. When these 5 games have been completed, we're only going to have played 9. And I think at that point of the season, even at that point at 9 games, it's still a bit like a current form table. Mm-hmm. It's only over the season that you still. So, even if we were to, lose some of these games or drop points, which basically I'll come on to, I think we will, in my opinion, it's not really going to be a barometer of whether we actually get at that point in the season, because there's a long, long way to go.
Yeah, I think it would be a good indicator, though, of how... I'm not saying these 5 games are going to shape our season, but it'll be a good indication of where we're going to be.
Which is why we've done this video, isn't it? Exactly. Because I think it would be foolish, really, not to look at these 5 fixtures as every one of them a tough game, because they're going to be teams that are going to really want to beat us like every other team. But these are teams that are going to be effectively what the traditional 6-pointer.
Exactly.
Because I think the promotion and the top positions is going to be won and lost mainly on what you do with the teams around you. This is why these games are important because all of these teams are going to play all the other teams in the league as well, obviously. And you know, some teams that obviously they're going to expect to be beat just like us, but when it comes down to the season about who's gone up, who's got into the playoffs, and who's done well, often you can look at the teams around you, see how you did against them as a good indicator for how well your season's going to go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned in the Wigan preview, Dad, didn't you, that Wigan away from home beat all the top 4 teams away from home
last season.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really interesting when you finish a season to look back and see where you were strong and weak. And I think the teams which obviously finished the best, I mean, obvious thing to say, do well against the teams around you, don't they? So really important there. And I know you're the stat man, Dad, but I've brought a little bit of preparation with me today, if you don't mind. And, you know, we talk about possession a lot, so I've got a little bit of stats around possession, goals scored, goals conceded, and then a little bit of thoughts around the team. So stats on the 5 teams. Wrexham, this was surprisingly low for me. So Wrexham have averaged 35% possession in their games, and that just proves that, don't it? And if you can't put the ball in the net, possession really does not count for very much. And they're only on the 35% possession, so they've scored 11. They've only conceded 2, and they've kept 4 clean sheets out of 5 games this campaign. I mean, that fair play to Wrexham.
Well, the 2 they conceded was in the very first game at Wickham.
It was,
home to Wickham, weren't they?
That's understandable because it's the first game of the season. They've kept clean sheets since then. You know, incredible, really. Rotherham, a little bit higher. So they're averaging 47% possession in their games. They've scored 3 and conceded 4, so conceded more than they've scored. And they're a little bit similar to Blues, Rotherham, in that they've had a lot of turnover this season. And I think they're a team which is still waiting for that gel and that click to happen as well, even though they've got the most unlikable manager in the world. Steve Evans, he's one grumpy, moany git, isn't he?
He really is,
Then we've got Peterborough, again, slightly higher, 58% possession, scored 6 goals and conceded 6 as well. But of course, Peterborough have sold a lot of players. They're a very experienced League One team, so I'm still expecting them to do pretty well this season. Huddersfield, 57% possession, scored 6 and conceded 2. And Charlton, 43% possession, cannot get that out, possession, scored 5, conceded 3. And yeah, you know, Charlton are going to be solid this year. I mean, what Nathan Jones has done this since he's took over is amazing, really. So yeah, a little bit of an overview on the team. And I thought I'd mention this because we talk about possession, our new style of football, having lots of the ball. Interesting to see how, you know, you think these teams... Do you think these teams are going to come at Blues, Dad, you know, in these games a bit more?
Well, based upon the possession stats that you've just given, you'd suggest that Wrexham particularly are a team that are happy to sit off the ball and let the opposition have, a little bit like we were last season under John Eustace in particular. We were a team that weren't really possession dominant, so we'd allow teams to come at us, absorb the the play, and then try and catch them on the counter. So I think Wrexham will probably almost definitely do that. So I can see us having very high possession against Wrexham. But as we've said in previous podcasts, possession means nothing unless you do. It's just a stat. How much of the ball you've actually kept hold of.
But the thing which Wrexham have got going for them, which arguably not the Blues haven't got going for them, they're very together. They're a unit. They're a group. They're a team which are very gelled together. They work hard, and you know they've got all those attributes of a team which are just, you know, together. And
one of my points was exactly that. Is that these 5 teams are playing us at the right time actually, because you know we are a team of, I think in the last game, last league game, we had 3 players in the starting lineup that actually were here last season, 3. Yeah. And we've had 17 new players come in, and you're not going to gel immediately. You know, it takes time. So for these 5 teams, this is probably the best time to play us, because I think further down the season, as we get more established and the players get, you know, used to each other, they're more used to the style of play that Chris Davis is trying to coach into them, we will get stronger and stronger. So it's a good time for these teams. That's why I don't think it's a complete disaster if we do lose any of these games. Obviously, I don't want to. Of course, we don't. But I've got a feeling that, and I want to ask you this in a minute actually as well. I think we will drop some points.
But what I would argue, Dad, is that we've had 5 games now in the, sorry, more than that if you include the league and the cup.
4 in the league.
4 in the league, and then 2 or 3 in the various cups.
Yeah.
And Chris Davies has seen enough of his team now to know where to improve, to know where we need to be stronger. He knows we need to be more clinical moving forward. I think he's very happy that we're keeping hold of the ball. We're a high possession team, no doubt about it. But he knows where we need to improve, and he's got 2-week international break now. 2-week international break. At the time of recording now, it's just over a week until we play Wrexham, and he's going to know where to improve, what he wants to do on the training ground. So that's good for Blues, that we've had this break, he's seen his team, and now we can put things in place to make us stronger going into these 5 games as well.
Definitely. And, I think that's the thing. I think Chris Davies' problem is probably a good one, in terms of his problem is trying to sort of fit the players in the right places. It's not like we're short here, we're short there, because we can't be. Mm-hmm. We brought virtually 2 players in for every single position. It's just getting the right mix. I think as well, the Jay Stansfield signing has thrown a bit of a curve ball into his thoughts, because now how does he fit Jay Stansfield into this team in the style of play? I've seen some suggestions that Blues have been in social media some have been suggesting alternative formations. Some is 5-3-2 was it 5-3-2? No, 3-5-2.
Okay.
Yeah, 3-5-2. Yeah,
with wing backs.
With wing backs. Yeah, saying that we could have like two strikers up front doing that way. I'm not convinced that Chris Davies will move away from the way that he set us up. Over the games that we've seen him so far. But yeah, it's a good problem to have, because it's just getting that role mixed. As we said in the previous podcast, once Chris Davies starts to fine tune this team and get them into the formation and playing as they want, we are going to be a really, really dangerous team. But for these 5 teams, I do think that they'll be glad they'll be playing us early in the season now, because get us out the way, so to speak, before we've actually completely gelled. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, going on to form, I'll just give you a little bit of form on those 5 teams. They're great stats you've actually had there, really, so that saved me a little bit. This is going at their last 6 league game. Now, this includes, obviously, because we've only Wrexham 5 and everybody else, a few others 5 and 4. So this is including the game that would have been last season in the league. So this is the last 6 league games of including this season, whatever's last season. So Wrexham are top of the league table after 6 games. So that's 5 wins and a draw. Mm-hmm. In the last 6. Then we've got, did you say Rotherham next?
Rotherham next, yeah.
Rotherham have 2 wins, 2 draws and 2 defeats in their last 6 games. Just give me the order of the next one.
Peterborough next.
Peterborough next. So Peterborough have got 3 losses, 2 wins and a draw in their last 6. These are league games, not cup games. Okay, yeah. Then it's Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield have 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. And then we have Charlton, was it?
Yep, Charlton the final.
Charlton, 3 wins, 2 draws and a loss. And then Birmingham, 4 wins and 2 draws. That shows you how the teams have done in their last 6 league games. Most of those now are in League One in this season, but there's a few little hangovers from previous seasons as well. So you can see there, Wrexham and Birmingham are the teams that are on best form over the last 6 games. But every team there, has the capability of beating each other, as we've seen in this league as well. But it's always useful to look at current form, because that talks about confidence as well. So let me give you the questions, and I'll give my responses. And if you've got any questions for me, as we go through them 3. So just a few questions as well. Yeah. So out of these 5 games, and maybe Blues fans can put their responses in the comments below to some of these questions, because I know there'll be questions relevant to you as well. But out of these 5 games, what would you suggest would be a good points return for Birmingham City?
15.
Well, okay.
I'm joking.
Well, no, that would be acceptable. I get where you're coming from.
And I did say in the start, all these are winnable. And honestly, I think if we turn up and we play the way we can play, and let's say Chris Davies has been doing some drills on the park, and we can finally get a bit more of a clinical edge, all 5 of these teams are there for the taking, I have no doubt. But if I'm going to put my realistic cap on, I think I'd love to get 11. So that'd be 3 wins and 2 draws.
Okay, yeah. So I've thought that a promoted team, if they can average 2 points a game, that's normally enough for promotion. And I'd say the same. Yes, if we can get 10 points out of these 3 games, we can look back after these 5 games and we've actually got 10 points. That would represent a good haul for us. That would represent 3 wins, one draw, and give us the flexibility of 1 loss as well. Because whether we like it or not, Blues fans, this is a tough league. We've said it over and over again on previous podcasts. We are going to drop points and we are going to lose games. These are a good bunch of teams we're playing here. But I think if we can look back with 10 points out of a possible
10
50,
plus would be good.
Yeah, but 10 as a minimum would be really, really good. Yeah. But we'll have to see. So you think 11. 11, I think 10, and we would see what Blues fans think as well.
Yeah, and again, I genuinely think we are capable of getting 15, but the thing that worries me at the minute is we are struggling to break down teams from open play when they do get a little bit more defensive. So in the home games, especially at St.Andrews, if we do get a couple of part-the-bus games, it's that thing in the back of your mind, isn't it? We've took it to 90-plus minutes, we've relied on a penalty. Those little things start to play in your mind. But yeah, I'll go for 11. I think we could get 15, but let's see.
Okay, I like your confidence. That's
so
good, yeah.
I'm going to throw a question to you, Dad, as we do a little bit of a back and forth. Is there any games out of these 5 in particular that you're anxious about, apprehensive about, or sort of worried about?
Well, again, that's the question I have for you as well, so that saves me asking that question as well. Am I anxious about them? No, I'm not anxious about any of them. I think we clearly got a squad that's strong enough to beat any of them. And it's just, like you've mentioned, it's that point in the season where we're not gelled yet. We're still getting to know each other. So no, I'm not overly anxious. I think that on current form, Wrexham will probably be the team that you'd suggest would be the most confident, because they could come. They've got nothing to lose, really, have they? I think that they will come and think, we were a League 2 team last season. We was in the National League the year before that. We're coming to the big ground, St.Andrews. They spent loads of money. I hate that, but they always say that.
We're going to get that all season.
Yeah, but I think I'm not worried about playing Wrexham at all, to be honest. No. But they can come with a bit of confidence, and as you mentioned as well, which is a really important point as well. All 5 of these teams, I know Rotherham have brought in a lot of players as well, haven't they? But they're established teams. Most of their players have been there a long time. Yeah. So they will come knowing each other's game. I think that's going to be a big plus for them as well. Yeah. But no, the answer is I'm not anxious about any of the 5 games at all. I just think that, out of all the 5 games, I think the team that will come to us with more confidence is going to be Wrexham. And that sometimes can be quite a dominant factor, can't it?
It's a massive thing.
What about you? Any?
I mean, confidence. Just jumping on that point, Dax, it's really important. Confidence and togetherness as a team is arguably one of the most powerful things, because you've got that belief, you've got that sense of team spirit. It's really important. So. Again, I think I've used the wrong word with anxious, because I'm not anxious either. I mean, the only one I'm a little bit more thinking, they could cause us some problems. The same as you, Dad, is Wrexham. Yeah. That's my only one. I mean, Charlton away is going to be a tough game. But, we've seen them play. I've seen them play a few times this season. We beat them in the cup away with that Brandon Keller screamer. That's going to be a tough game as well. But it's the Wrexham game for me, because they have kept 4 clean sheets. They don't concede many goals. They're capable of scoring many goals as well. And they've just got that togetherness, which, again, it's not worrying. It's just an observation that, we are a team still in transition. So I just think Wrexham could cause us the most amount of problems. However, me and you, Dad, firm favourites. I think we agree on this of a 3:00 Saturday kickoff. St.Andrews under the lights in the midweek is still a very, very special place to be, isn't it? And I'm so looking forward to that game.
And it'll be sold out. Every home game so far has been sold out.
I mean, Wrexham fans, if you've seen the logo on the thumbnail or you've seen the title and you are looking forward to that game, you are in for a treat, aren't you? St. Andrews on a Monday night is something special when it's sold out.
Yeah, I mean, nearly 28,000 capacity. That's the maximum capacity we've got. So it's going to be
noisy in there.
It's going to be fantastic. And I think, all the other games are tough as well. But I think the confidence that Wrexham will have will give them a slight edge in terms of the other teams that we're playing. So it will, like I said, Matt, all of these games are tough. Next question to you then, Matt. And we sort of touched on this at the beginning. We're sort of 4 games played, and now we've obviously got these games coming up now. So how significant do you think that these 5 fixtures will be as an impact on our overall season?
I think they're huge. Yeah. I think because they're the teams that are going to be in and around us, there's no doubt about it. Rotherham will be up there. Huddersfield are up there now. Wrexham will be up there. I think Peterborough's the only one for me who will be possibly in between the playoffs and mid-table, arguably pushing in that playoff region. But all of these are going to be around us. Yep. And there's no doubt that this is going to be a massive 5 games. Will it determine our season? No. It's not like the end all and be all. It's not going to, if we suddenly lose a few games or something, it's not going to completely destroy our season. Absolutely not. But these 5 games to me will be really telling of how we're going to get on this season.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like you said, the key thing, as I mentioned a little bit earlier as well, it's the teams around you, and I think that determines about. If you can beat these, you create a bit of daylight between you and them, because they are the traditional 6-pointers, aren't they? Yeah. Tough games. They're going to give us a good yardstick really on about how we're doing at the moment. But I agree, they're not going to define our season.
And the good thing is we've got 3 at home, 2 away. Although our away record's arguably
well, it's 100% so far.
It's not even arguably. It's better than our home form. So, but there's no doubt about it. St.Andrews is going to be an intimidating place to be. I still think our own players have to get used to a packed out St.Andrews.
Yeah.
It is definitely noisy in there. It can get intimidating. But for me, a big 5 games, not going to determine our season outcome, but still a huge 5 nonetheless.
My final question is, do you think that Chris Davis will adapt the formation for any of these 5 games?
No. I think he'll say, we're Birmingham City, we're going to control this game. You adapt your tactics to what we're going to do. I think we've got the squad. That might sound ridiculously arrogant. I hope he didn't come across like that. I just think that, we do have a strong team. We do have a strong squad. And I think if you start altering your formation, you pay your opposition too much respect sometimes.
Well, he's already set the blueprint out, hasn't he, for how we're going to play. We've seen that in season. I think he did a bit of an experimentation in the EFL Trophy against Walsall. We did see, well, obviously we saw different players coming in, but it wasn't really a change of formation as such. It's just players playing in different positions, and clearly it didn't work in a lot of the things he tried. But I think for the league, I think he'll stick with the try. And I think you're right. I mean, have the confidence to think, well, we're strong. Why should we adapt our tactics to suit other teams? They should be more worried about us than we are about them,
especially at home.
Yeah, I think so. The only, I suppose, the reason for that question really, and this is probably on the minds of Blues fans as well, is because of Jay Stansfield.
I mean, he might change tactics for Jay Stansfield. Yeah. I mean, that's a slightly different question, though, isn't it? I mean, I don't think he'll adapt it because he's worrying about what the opposition will do. Yeah. He might change it to accommodate Jay Stansfield a little bit more. I don't know, but I think in hindsight, Dad, that Walsall game actually played out pretty well because it didn't give him any headaches moving forward. I mean, there was a couple of players in there that did well, but Clara's going to be in the first team anyway, as an example. But some players didn't quite step up to the mark that we thought they would, and Chris Davis, I presume, is going to go back to the team he has been picking previously. Anyway. So
it'd be our first team.
He tried some stuff, it didn't work. That happens in football. It was a cup game, and I think against Wrexham, when we go to that game on Monday, we're going to have a lot more similar setup than what we were used to against the Wigan game, for example.
It'll be the team that started against Wigan minus the injuries and any niggles that come back from the internationals. Jay Stansfield as well, so
it's a good question, though, Dad. I'd be interested to see how Chris Davis incorporates Jay Stansfield, because there's no doubt he has to start. He has to play.
You're not going to spend that much on a player.
Exactly. So Jay Stansfield will be starting the majority of our games. It's just how Chris Davis wants to adapt his strategy and play to get him in there.
Yeah, so that's what we think, I think, Blues fans. It is 5 key fixtures that are coming up in a row over the next 5 games, and we'd love to know your thoughts on what you think about that. Maybe let us know in the comments below what you think what would represent a realistic and good points return. Obviously, Matt says 15 points, but then obviously came down to 11. I think we have to realise that I keep sort of almost, I suppose, giving a note of caution that we're not going to be invincible in this league, but we are going to be very good. So we have to sort of realise that games like this are going to be ones that we really obviously want to win, but are not going to be straightforward. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below, what you think a good points return would be. Of course, if you did like this video, as always, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels, make sure you go along to our X page and our Instagram page. And we're also on Spotify now, so you can listen to the podcast in that way if you wish. You'll see the handles appearing for all those on the screen right now. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content all about Birmingham City. And myself and Matt will see you on the next video.